Hello and welcome to Popalong RC. I'm Carl and today we are talking about racing RC cars. So, for example, we could start with something quite cheap, which would be this car over here, which is a Tamiya MO3. So the Tamiya MO3 is what we would consider as a beginner class of racing. Myself and Mark have run this quite a lot over the last year, and we have taken it to the Iconic Cup where we had a great time racing against other MO3s. They're quite rare now, they're hard to get hold of. You cannot buy them new anymore, so you have to buy spares to keep it up and running. So it is getting to the point where it is a little bit of an antique. So to replace the MO3, we decided we were going to step up and run this one here. Again, considered to be an entry-level touring car. This is a Tamiya TT01. We've only recently got these up and running, and we have been racing them at Leighton Buzzard and Milton Keynes. But again, this is preparation for the Iconic Cup next year. I've got a couple of GT12s here. Now, I first started running GT12s when they first came out. So this car here is actually an original super stock GT12. So if I take the shell off there, we can see that it is actually quite a simple design. The GT12s run foam tyres, and yeah, this is one of the very first versions. You see there how wide that chassis actually is. Moving on, I believe the second car that came out, if I take the shell off of that one, would be this GT12, which is the Schumacher Superstock GT, which has a much narrower chassis there. The car's evolved at a ridiculous rate, so within a couple of months this car was pretty much redundant, and yeah, now it would not even be close to keeping up with the Atom 2s which are on the market now. Now, if we take something as simple as the TT01, we started out with a kit which we built. Now, you can pick up a kit for, I think it's about £100 for a TT01E, but in order to get it ready for the track, you will need to buy some paints to spray the shell. So you're looking at about £7-8 a can. So when we take off the shell and have a look inside the car, in order to race, you'll need to get yourself a transponder. Depending on the club and the system that you use, you might be looking at another £50 for the transponder. Inside the kit, you do not get a servo. So again, to get a half decent servo, not talking a high spec race one, you're looking at another £30 or £40 there. Then, depending on the club that you're running at, will depend on what motor setup you need. Now, we have got a TT01 here set up, ready to run at the Iconic Cup, and they run a set motor, which is the Team Powers Club Racer, and that is the motor of choice at the Iconic Cup. However, our local clubs, when they run these, they either run with a silver can or a black can, and in order to run it at certain clubs, we're going to have to change this out and put in a different setup. So this has actually got a Hobby Wing ESC in there because the motor is too fast for the stock ESC that comes in the box. The next thing you're going to need to get hold of is a heatsink for the motor. I've run this a couple of times and the heatsink isn't doing enough, so I'm actually going to have to invest in a fan now to try and cool the motor, because over a 4-minute period running this at full throttle with the gearing it's getting rather hot. Now, it's a whole different video on transmitters, but you could easily spend anywhere between £50 and £200 on your transmitter receiver combo. The next thing we need to consider is tyres. When you are racing cars, the tyre is one of the most important things that you need to consider. So if I have a little look over here, for example, we have got some treaded tyres for the Mini. We have got some more tyres here for the Mini. These are 36s, and then we've got a set of 30s there. We've got a set of 24s there. The number on these tyres is the number at which the tyre performs best in terms of degrees. So these run well at 24 degrees, which means they're a soft, sticky rubber, whereas these ones that run here are a slightly harder rubber, and they need to be at a higher temperature in order to perform better. So they are for the Mini. For the touring car, again, the same principle applies. So as you can see here, I've got a selection of tyres. I've got 4 different sets there, 4 different compounds for different racing tracks and racing conditions. What we're currently running on these, I believe, actually, these are Sweep 28s. So again, the number determines how soft the tyre is. Like with Formula 1, you can get different compound of tyre. The softer tyres do tend to wear a little bit quicker. So these tyres would last us hopefully a few races. I've only done 2, maybe 3 sessions on these tyres, so therefore I'm not really noticing much drop off at the moment. With the Mini running the 24s, we were able to get about 4 race meets out of one set of tyres before they were pretty much unable to compete with fellow racers. At the top end, when you're running the modified motors and things, drivers will be using tyres for maybe 1 race, and then they'll throw them away, put a new set on for the next race. So there you have it. We have got a few examples of RC cars that you could race, from the Tamiya Minis, the Tamiya TT01s, the GT12s, or your touring cars. There is something for everyone in the world of racing. The thing that you need to consider is your budget. If you've got thousands of pounds to spend, then you could probably go for one of the top of the range touring cars. If you haven't got that sort of money, then maybe start with an entry level Tamiya car or something equivalent. But even with this, there is going to be ongoing costs throughout your racing careers. Tyres, you're going to have to change probably once a month. Batteries, you're going to make sure you've got plenty of batteries to get you through a race meet, because the turnaround time between races might be quite short. You're not going to have time to fully charge batteries, so therefore you definitely want to have a few sets of those. You definitely need to have some spare tyres, whether it's your foams or your rubber tyres. You need some spares in your box. Other things you need to be aware of is, when you're racing, you're not the only person on the track. You will be crashing into people, hitting the sides, and therefore there will be some breakages. You'll work out very quickly what parts tend to break on certain cars, and you'll have yourself a little collection of bits in your toolbox so that you don't ruin your race night in the first little practice run. If you'd like to know more about racing RC cars, about some of the little projects that we've got going on, please like and subscribe, and we will see you again soon.